Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the first day-long data platform WIT event. We are planning on more of these, but this is the first event. We are starting the day with the keynote from Merit, and those of you who have been following us would not know of a better person, a better champion of WIT causes than she has been. She is a senior program manager with Microsoft Corporation, and she's here to talk to us today on lifting as we climb. Take it away, Ree.
Hey, everybody. Hold on, I was answering somebody in the chat really quick. Let me get this out of the way. Hold on. Okay, can you see my screen okay, Mala?
Yes, all fine.
Awesome. Let's go. So they have given me 30 minutes today. I do not know that we are going to use all of them. And so if we don't, that's okay. We will take questions at the end to fill the time. So it's going to work. So welcome everybody to what I hope is the first of many data platform Women in Tech Days. Kathy and Mala have worked hard to bring you a full schedule of professional development and tech training presented by just some of the amazing women in the data platform. Topics covered include SQL Server configurations, PowerShell and Power BI, graph features in Azure, Azure SQL, diversity learning, and then they're closing out the day with our, when is the panel discussion? Is that at the end of the day?
It's during lunch hour, yeah.
On mentoring.
Yeah,
so
it's
yeah. Okay, so I am, as Mala mentioned, I am Ree Merritt. I am a senior program manager for Microsoft. I run the data platform MVP program and manage the relationship with the Azure data community. In my free time, I am a wife, mother, tech organizer, user group leader, mentor, insane football fan, and a capital F feminist. I'm a frequent speaker at tech conferences on Azure SQL, and I also present a variety of women in tech talks. I make no apologies for being angry about things, for demanding fair treatment, and for demanding equitable pay. So lifting as we climb is a phrase typically associated with underrepresented segments of the population, usually women and people of color. It refers to the act of pulling someone up the proverbial ladder, be that social, economic, or career. Madeleine Albright, America's first female Secretary of State, once said, "There's a special place in hell for women who don't help other women." Now, this brings to mind images of two kinds of women. Those that value our strength as women working together, and those who seek to pull up the ladder after they've moved up a rung. The former is a reflection of women that I admire, those who are generous and willing to share opportunities, those who know we're only making this better if we work together. The latter is a small minority that people love to bring up when we often talk about the ambitions of women. Those discussions reinforce negative stereotypes of the high school mean girl. And let's be honest, women don't hold enough power to be the real reason we are underrepresented in tech and the boardroom. Together, we're going to talk about how to be that first woman and to lift as you climb. So you've excelled in your career and you didn't get there alone. Now it's time to pay it back. Maybe you should be the mentor. So what is a mentor? It's defined as someone who teaches or gives help and advice to a less experienced and often younger person. They're also referred to as a wise and trusted advisor. So think back to the mentor that made the greatest difference in your life and what made them stand out. What did they bring to the table that changed the arc of your career? Now identify the strengths that you have and how they can help others. One of the most important things that makes someone a good mentor is their ability to communicate. And remember, communication is a two-way street. It's talking and listening, advising and paying attention to their feedback. As a mentor, you should learn to ask questions about what they want and where they want to go. And if they don't know the answers, help them figure that out. Think about this. When you were in your early 20s, did you really know what you wanted to be when you grew up? Did you really know how to get there? I can assure you that what I am now and where I am now wasn't even in my telescope when I was in my early 20s. I didn't know it existed, frankly. So sometimes you have to offer a little more guidance than you think you do. Just a little more direction pointing or withdrawing information to figure out their direction. So how do you mentor someone? Well, first, you want to establish expectations. Explain your role to them and point out what you're going to expect from them. And this can vary greatly about what you're willing to do and what it is that they're going to expect. You may find that they perfectly click. You may find that they aren't compatible at all. And so you have to figure out together what those expectations are. Figure out what it is that they need from you. Ask questions to find out their priorities and goals. Then set goals for both of you. If possible, find out the goals that their boss has set for them and integrate those into what you're doing. How is this going to work? You get to define that. Figure out how frequently you're going to meet. Are you going to talk over coffee once a month? Are you going to have more frequent virtual check-ins? Remember to be clear about your time and boundaries when you go into this, or you'll probably find that it's a less successful venture if you don't establish some time and boundaries right out of the gate. Listen, ask, advise. Mentoring starts with a conversation. What works, what doesn't work. Maybe they've already tried a few things that didn't work for them. Some people don't learn well by reading. And if that's the case, don't assign them books to read. But if that's how they absorb things, by reading things on the web, by reading papers, by reading books, play to their strengths. Know what worked for you may not work for them. Not everybody is the same level of confident extrovert that you are. Some people out there are really, really fear confrontation in any form. Some people are not a self-starter. So you might have to give them a firmer nudge than your mentor did to you, okay? Be accountable to each other. Being mentor and mentee is a relationship based on trust. Be honest, but don't hurt their feelings, of course. And know when it's time to quit. This relationship may not work out. If you think that it's going that way, you don't have to dig in. You should be able to have that conversation. If you are the mentee, feel free to say your style doesn't suit me. And if you are the mentor, feel free to say, I can't give you what you need. If you are the mentor, my advice is to help them find someone who's going to suit them. Life is too short to wear uncomfortable shoes. Your career is too short to work with a mentor who's not going to help you. So keep that in mind. Mentorship in the data community, right? So what can mentorship look like with someone who isn't a coworker? If someone is interested in writing but doesn't know where to start, maybe they don't think they'll write enough to start their own blog, I would suggest that you let them guest post on yours once or twice. Let them get the feel for it. Let them figure out if they're good at it or not, if this is something that they want to pursue. If you think that they might want to speak, but they're not quite ready to jump into the deep end of the pool, offer to co-present with them or help them build a session. Building a session, certainly a technical session, an intro one, isn't that hard. Think of 10 things you'd like to, 10 bits of knowledge that you would like to impart on the audience. Put them in bullet points and make each one of them a slide. And then go back through that and start adding details about what you want to discuss to each point. So you already have a slide deck with 10 slides on it. You'll find that you've just expanded on each slide. Maybe there's 2. The next thing you know, it's a 30-minute talk. Maybe it's a lightning talk. But help them build that session if you've done this before. Connect with women right now, virtually, face-to-face. Mentor each other, mentor your peers, bounce ideas and problems off of each other. Find someone to have virtual coffee with once a month. Talk to them about the community, what they're doing, what they want to do, where they want to go next. So something a little bit different than mentor is a sponsor, and I think they're going to get to this in the panel later today. So let's give you a good base for what this is before they talk about this today. So a sponsor has a space at the table, and they use that to hire, retain, and advance diversity in employees. What's the big difference between a mentor and a sponsor? While a mentor might schedule regular check-ins and offer career advice, a sponsor invites them to the table. They use their influence to advocate for you. They help ensure you get added to that visible project. Sponsorship goes beyond advice and check-in. A sponsor is someone in the company that uses their leadership position, power, and influence to build and advance a career. A sponsor gets you assigned to that stretch project that will highlight the work you're doing for the company. With a sponsor, women are 70% more likely to see their ideas implemented. I saw it explained on Twitter this way. A mentor will talk with you. A sponsor will talk about you. Mentors give you perspective, while sponsors give you opportunities. Hold on. There we go. The role of a sponsor isn't to make you a better person. It's to help you create, demonstrate, and leverage work that advances your career. Accenture, a professional services company, developed a sponsorship program in which senior female employees are paired with C-suite executives who assist them in driving their careers forward. The results have been very promising. 47% of Accenture's new hires are women, and women comprise 44% of its global workforce. 44% of its global workforce. 30% is great for a tech company. 16% is the average. So 44% of their global workforce. The company maintains that 100% of its female employees participate in programs intended to mentor, sponsor, and develop their careers. Sponsorship and similar programs make a measurable difference in recruiting, retaining, and advancing all women, but it's particularly effective for women of color. Having a strong sponsorship program in place fosters innovation and advancement. It encourages women to stay and grow within their company. Sponsorship can create successful pathways for women at every stage of their career. So how do you identify a professional who can help you get where you want to go? Look for a senior level person, male or female, who has the power and the position to open doors for you. This person can be in your company, an influential member in your field or industry, or even a professor. So let's shift gears just a little bit in between sponsorship and how different people can help you in your career. So you have been assigned to the project that you wanted. You've been added to a big meeting, or you've been invited to talks about company direction. Now is your chance to lift as you climb. Include other women every opportunity that you can. You know who'd be a great fit for this project? Kathy, Mala, Deepthi, Julie, all of the women that are speaking today. Pick one at your company. When you walk through a door, drag another woman with you. When you step up a rung on the ladder, offer a hand to the woman behind you. And when you make it to the meeting table, pull up a chair for a friend. And do not apologize for this. Men have been doing this the whole time. This is not gaming the system. This is the system. So amplification. Starting out, the Obama administration was a lot more like previous administrations if you're measuring on diversity. But by the end of his first term and into his second term, the Obama White House had one of the most diverse staffs ever. However, women working for the White House complained that they weren't being let into important meetings, and when they were ignored. But they came up with a plan. Once they had a seat at the table, they brought more women into the discussion. Have you ever been in a meeting and presented an idea only to have someone else jump in and run with it? The next thing you know, everybody loves Keith's idea. only it was your idea. So female staffers adopted a meeting strategy called amplification. When a woman made a key point, other women would repeat it, giving credit to its author. I like that idea, Amy. Utilizing code that way would ensure the application can scale once we're running in production and growing. This forced the men in the room to recognize the contribution and denied them the chance to claim the idea as their own. Establish no interruptions policy. A boss noticed that 2 young females on his team were quiet during meetings. He pulled them aside and encouraged them to speak up more. Watch what happens when we do. Almost every time they started to speak, they were interrupted or shut down before finishing their pitch. When one had a good idea, a male coworker, probably Keith again, would jump in and run with it before she could complete her thought. So this boss found a clever way to change the dynamics that were holding those 2 females back. It was very effective, and it's as simple as a no interruptions policy. No interruptions at all. Not men, not women, nobody. Everybody gets to finish their thought. So the next time you're in a meeting, watch what happens when a woman in a meeting offers her ideas. If your office is like most, you'll notice that women are interrupted much more frequently than men. Some interruptions are intended to be helpful, and others or offer support. And other times it's actually to assert dominance. And it doesn't matter what the intention is, good or bad, the result is the same. Women are being left out of the conversation. So a study in 2015 found that men not only interrupted twice as often as women, they were 3 times more likely to interrupt a man, yet women almost never interrupt men. And women were more likely to be penalized for the interruption. So here are some important phrases for women to learn. I just said that. Stop interrupting me, and I'm not finished. But this isn't just about women. It's not just about taking up for ourselves. We need allies, and that means men too. They need to learn 10 words. She just said that. Stop interrupting me, and she's not finished. If you're the team lead or the manager, establish a no interruptions policy. It might be tough at first, but people will catch on. Stop all interruptions. Allow your team the time and space to finish their thought and see it to its natural conclusion. Then encourage the group to discuss or expand. If it's not going to work, move on. Now, I'm not saying to let one person in the meeting suck the air out of the room and talk the whole time. We all have that coworker. But you as a manager should control how people utilize that time. So why is any of this necessary at all? Why are we talking about this? Well, women are leaving tech at twice the rate that men are. More than twice, technically. High school boys and girls participate in STEM at about the same rate. Many elite colleges report at least 50% of their intro to computer science classes are women. Yet men are employed in STEM at twice the rate that men are. At larger tech companies, men outnumber women 4 to 1. Among women in tech, 27% have reported feeling stalled. That number is even higher for African American women at 48% feeling career stall. 32% of women in tech reported that they are likely to quit within the next year. Recognize the problem here. We already have more jobs than we have tech positions. So it's not just a pipeline issue. It's a leaving the field issue. So why are women leaving tech? When asked, women cited a host of reasons why they're leaving tech: inflexible company policies, having their voices heard, untrained or undertrained managers, lack of mentorship, office culture, and unclear evaluations. Let's face it, women carry a greater share of the burden outside of the office. Sometimes that fact, coupled with leave policies, make it harder for women to remain employed. This has become even more glaring during the pandemic. More women have left their jobs in the last 12 months than ever before. The wage gap also falls under HR. Pre-pandemic, white women in the US were paid about 79 cents on the dollar compared to men. For women of color, that number falls between 67 and 73 cents on the dollar. not having their voices heard. We discussed a few months ago, but it's also about not getting noticed, about having to prove you know what you're doing day after day. Trust me when I tell you, it's exhausting having to prove or demonstrate that you have the skill set to do the job that you're already doing. It is exhausting every day. Male executives who speak up more often than their peers are rewarded with 10% higher ratings of confidence. When female executives speak up more than their peers, they're punished for it with 14% lower ratings on their review. Women's voices aren't heard. They aren't assigned to stretch projects that get them noticed, that get them promoted, that get them assigned to the next big thing. In short, guys get to work on the cool stuff. So untrained managers. All too often in IT, a great dev gets promoted to team lead. A great team lead gets promoted to manager. And the company never bothered to teach them the skill set they needed to be a manager or to support their team. This affects the way that they manage both men and women. When they're the team lead, it's okay that they're buddies with the team. They can lead by going to happy hour or just chatting about things. By the time you're a manager or a director, your direct reports are men and women. This method is far less successful. This isn't necessarily a failing of the leader. This is a failure of the company. Think about how this works sometimes. The boss picks Brian to work on that stretch project. Brian's a great dev, not faulting Brian at all. But he needs one more dev to work on it. So the boss says, who do you want to work with, Brian? Who do you work well with? Brian is buddies with Steve, and they really do work well together. And why not? They're the same age. They went to the same college. They're both single. They have a ton in common. They work well together. This introduces two problems. The first is exclusion. Kathy's in the room. Kathy's a great dev, but the boss didn't pick Kathy to be on the project. The boss asked Brian, who does he work well with? The second problem this introduces is it avoids a diverse background. It causes a singularity in problem solving. Brian and Steve, because they have the same life experience, are probably going to approach the problem the same way. If you were to have picked Deepthi or Shreya or Julie or somebody else who has a very different life experience, they would approach a problem differently. And different solutions help you pick the better one, instead of Steve and Brian who go, I was thinking this. And he goes, I was thinking the same thing. See? Which segues beautifully into our next reason, organizational climate. Women often describe feeling like an outsider on their team. Years ago, I was pursued for a job by a recruiter. He was relentless. He kept telling me how awesome the environment was, beer cooler for happy hour, pool table, video games, no dress code. I declined numerous times, telling him that I wasn't interested. I finally had to get a little rude with him. I was not interested at all in being the only adult in the room. I have a kid. I don't need to parent 15 frat bro developers and deploy their drunken code while they go play foosball or Galaga. I tried to explain that he needs to understand his audience, that I would have been a horrible fit for that office. I also told them that if he ever contacted me again, I'd call his boss. And for the next couple of years, anytime anybody asked me, hey, do you know a recruiter? I would say, I know one that you should avoid. So keep that in mind. Lack of helpful mentorship. When women receive mentorship, it's advice on things they need to change about themselves, who they are, how they talk, how they interact with the team. Be this. With men, mentorship usually involves concrete steps for career progression. Do this. Unclear evaluation criteria. Women are frequently given vague, unactionable feedback. Smile more, try to be nicer, listen more. Men with highly visible leadership styles are described positively using words like assertive, while women are described as abrasive or running over people. Same behavior, different genders, different perspective. So solutions to stop the exodus. Make sure men and women with equivalent credentials start out at equal and competitive levels. Allow employees to discuss their salaries. In some states like Massachusetts, it's actually against the law to bar employees from discussing their salaries. And I know this is going to be an awkward question to have, but men, share your salaries with your female counterparts. How else are they going to know that they're underpaid? And trust me when I tell you they're underpaid. Engage and empower senior male and female executives to sponsor up-and-coming women. Make this part of their yearly goals and review. Being in management isn't just about showing up every day. It's about building and nurturing a strong team. And a more diverse team builds better product every time. Your goal should be for someone to outgrow their position or to expand the position to fill their need. But when they do outgrow that position, it's your job as a manager to help them move on to something that's good for them next. Make performance standards crystal clear with granular detail and actionable advice. Lay out goals at the beginning of a cycle that contain concrete, measurable items. I'm going to do X. I'm going to collaborate with ABC. I'm going to build that. Then when it's review time, you get to follow that up with, I accomplished X, I collaborated on ABC project, I built this and that. And make some of those stretch goals. It's important to train managers on providing actionable feedback via performance reviews. Hold the managers accountable. And managers don't always know how to do this naturally, and that's okay. As a company, you should train them in these skills. As a manager, if your company isn't doing this, then go do it for yourself. Institute HR policies that do not penalize women and encourage flexibility. I mentioned earlier that women carry a greater burden outside of the office. Be mindful of that and create allowances like flexible hours or job sharing or something. But you don't have to make these available to just the women that work for you. These are great benefits for men as well. Let's see. And I did finish early. We reached the end. So, Mala, I think if we had some questions, I stuck a quote here. My favorite, women grow muscles by lifting weights, but grow powerful by lifting each other. And I thought that was just a
That's
great
awesome.
way
Oh,
to wrap
wow.
this up.
Yeah, I love that. So there's one question.
Okay.
How do you go about finding a mentor or a sponsor if there is no one in your company you can find?
So first of all, I would say put that exact question into Bing or Google, because there are multi-step programs that you could do. If you're in the data platform, I would suggest Twitter. Start with Twitter, or start on a forum, or so hit me up on Twitter. I will be flat out honest and tell you I don't have time to mentor anybody right now. I'm a little busy. But I can probably help you find somebody. Tell me who you are, what you do. Tag the data platform with account. What hashtag are you all using now, Mala? Do you know? You're muted. It's fine. So
sorry, it's a hash data platform with.
Hashtag data platform with. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you can't find it in your company, there's no sense looking in your company, right? First of all, you could actually be mentored by a male. And so unless you are in your own company, there has to be somebody. It doesn't have to be a woman that mentors you. But go to Twitter and ask. It's going to change based on who you are, what you do, what stage you are in your career, and where you want to go. So, okay. Was that the only question, Mala?
That is the only question. Does anybody else have any questions for E?
Awesome.
Somebody said, yeah, but.
Yes, and then nothing.
Nothing.
Okay.
All right. That's about all. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, can you, Kathy, if you're still on, I'm going to stop sharing at this point.
I just want to remind everybody to join us for the next session from Tracy Baggiano, SQL Server configuration with DBA tools and DBA checks. So be sure to join us for that, and see you in a few minutes.